Ukraine has dismissed Russian claims that it killed hundreds of soldiers in a missile attack on Kramatorsk. Schools and apartment blocks were damaged in the attack in the eastern city, but Ukraine's military says no one was killed. Russia said the strike was in retaliation for Ukraine's New Year attack, which killed dozens of Russian soldiers.
Surveying the damage, Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has returned to his ransacked office in Brasilia. Rioters invaded the nation's seats of power on Sunday. He also visited the Supreme Court building, also damaged by supporters of former leader Jair Bolsonaro. The new president has vowed to punish those behind the violence. Police have arrested more than 1,500 people. They've dismantled the protesters' makeshift camps where they'd stayed for months before launching their attack.
A pioneering plane ride began with much promise at Cornwall. Virgin Orbit's Cosmic Girl taking off with a rocket strapped to her side to the Rolling Stones anthem Start Me Up.
Wheels off the ground on this historic both European and UK mission.
Dubbed the LauncherOne rocket, it was carrying 9 satellites to be sent into orbit. Tickets to the launch sold out faster than the Glastonbury Music Festival. Excited crowds celebrating after the initial takeoff. But the big leap for Britain quickly became a letdown.
LauncherOne has suffered an anomaly.
The payload burnt up, the satellites it was carrying couldn't be released and were lost.
Security forces confront protesters in the southern region of Puno. The government says nearly 9,000 demonstrators using homemade weapons and explosives tried to overrun the airport in the city of Juliaca. Security forces responded with live ammunition. It's the deadliest day in more than 1 month of violence across Peru. Officials say ambulances were prevented from moving freely. A doctor was killed while assisting the wounded, and a 17-year-old girl was shot and killed in the crossfire.
Well, Iran has sentenced 3 people to death in continued unrest from anti-regime demonstrations. The latest sentences bringing the total to 17. And the latest 3 are accused of killing members of security forces. 4 of those convicted have been executed, and 2 others are now on death row after their sentences were upheld by the country's Supreme Court. It comes as dozens of Iranians gathered outside a prison near Tehran, where authorities are reportedly preparing to execute 2 of the prisoners there.
Flags are potent symbols in the Israel-Palestine conflict, and now Israel has ordered police to remove Palestinian flags from public spaces, calling the black, white, green and red banner a terrorist symbol. The decree follows the release last week of a long-serving Palestinian prisoner, Karim Yunus, who was convicted of the kidnap and killing of an Israeli soldier in 1983. He was pictured holding the flag while receiving a hero's welcome in his home village. It also follows a mass anti-government protest held in Tel Aviv on Saturday night. The demonstration was led by left-wing and Arab members of the Israeli parliament.
The Department of Justice is looking into classified documents found at an office once used by President Biden. About 10 documents dating to his time as vice president were discovered in November at the Penn Biden Center in D.C. A lawyer for President Biden found the material, which should be in the National Archives. It's unclear how sensitive these documents are or their contents. The discovery came 3 months after the FBI searched former President Trump's Florida home, where 300 such documents were ultimately found, some of them of the highest possible classifications.
Senegal on Monday announced a raft of measures to improve road safety after a bus crash killed dozens on Sunday. Following a meeting with transporters and drivers, Prime Minister Amadou Ba announced a ban on night bus trips. Buses carrying passengers will be prohibited from the country's highways between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. Other measures include a ban on the importation of second-hand tires and a strict enforcement of speed limits. Goods and passenger service vehicles are capped at 90 kilometers per hour.